and welcome to Indus News. Live from Islamabad, I'm Naila Shuja, and these are the headlines. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says he has initiated a global campaign to counter the blasphemous acts in the West. Addressing a ceremony in Islamabad, Khan said Pakistan, alongside other Muslim countries, will present a case in the United Nations and the European Union to pressurize the West against the Islamophobia. The Prime Minister added he has already written a letter to the heads of Muslim states in this regard. India has reported its highest daily cases yet again as nearly 274,000 people tested positive, with over 1,600 deaths overnight. New Delhi's Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has announced a complete curfew in the Indian capital for 6 days. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has also cancelled a trip to India due to coronavirus worries. In Pakistan, over 5,100 people tested positive, while 73 died overnight, raising the death toll to 16,316. Globally, the virus has claimed over 3 million lives while infecting over 141 million people. Russia has expelled 20 Czech diplomats in retaliation to a slew of diplomatic expulsions by Prague. In a statement, the Russian Foreign Ministry gave the envoys just over 24 hours to leave the country. Earlier, the Czech Republic accused 18 Russian diplomats of involvement in a 2014 ammunition depot blast. EU foreign ministers are set to meet virtually today to discuss the health of Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny. In a statement, the EU's foreign policy chief, Joseph Borrell, called on Moscow to grant Navalny immediate access to medical professionals. Earlier, the United States warned Russia of consequences if Navalny dies in prison from a hunger strike. For more news and details, stay tuned. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. Pakistan's Prime Minister Imran Khan says he has initiated a global campaign to counter the blasphemous acts in the West. He was addressing a ceremony in the country's capital, Islamabad. Khan said Pakistan, alongside other Muslim countries, will present a case in the UN and EU to pressurize the West against Islamophobia. He added that he has already written letters to the Muslim leaders in this regard. The Prime Minister said the blasphemous acts against the Prophet, peace be upon him, hurt the sentiments of all Muslims. He further said that a sustained campaign would only be a long-lasting solution against such incidents. Pakistan's Foreign Minister Shah Mahmood Qureshi has left for Abu Dhabi during his 3-day official visit to the UAE. Earlier, the Foreign Minister met with UAE Minister of Tolerance Sheikh Nahyan bin Mubarak Al Nahyan. Qureshi appreciated Al Nahyan's role in strengthening ties between Pakistan and the UAE. The two discussed the enhancement of bilateral trade and investment in Pakistan, especially in the hospitality industry. In Abu Dhabi, Qureshi will meet his counterpart, Sheikh Abdullah bin Zayed Al Nahyan, among other dignitaries. Pakistan's Foreign Office says the talks will focus on promoting trade cooperation between the two countries. Pakistan has recorded 73 more deaths from COVID-19 over the past 24 hours. The country's health ministry says the nationwide death toll has reached 16,316. The ministry said over 5,000 people tested positive for the virus overnight. Government data shows the overall caseload has crossed 761,000, of which nearly 663,000 people have recovered. Currently, there are more than 82,000 active cases in the country, while more than 4,500 patients are in critical medical condition. India has reported its highest daily cases yet again as nearly 274,000 people tested positive, with over 1,600 deaths overnight. Globally, the virus has claimed over 3 million lives and infected 141 million people.
The third wave of COVID-19 is raging as the world continues to struggle with equitable vaccine distribution. The world's biggest vaccine producer, India, is also running out of COVID-19 vaccines amid rising infections. Indian capital New Delhi's Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has announced a complete curfew in the city for 6 days. In a statement, Kejriwal said the city is facing acute shortages of hospital beds, medical oxygen supplies, and key medicines. British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has cancelled trip to India due to coronavirus worries, while Hong Kong has also banned flights from India for 2 weeks over the presence of the N5015 variant. In the US, half of all adults have received at least one vaccine shot. Just south of the US, sanctions-hit Venezuela has only just queued itself for the vaccine as infections and deaths continue to rise.
I can announce that this week, starting April 19, Monday, the rest of the $120 million deposit into the COVAX system will be completed. Venezuela is now in line for vaccines. Resources have been obtained, resources that were freed up from the blockade.
In more disturbing news, a new Israeli study has found Pfizer's vaccine to be ineffective against the South African variant. While infections and fatalities continue to rise in France, Italy, and Germany, while Britain has seen a major drop in deaths. And in a rare moment of happiness amid pandemic anxiety, hundreds of passengers have thronged Australian airports as an open border system began with New Zealand. The measure allows Australian residents to fly for the first time in over a year without having to quarantine for 2 weeks.
It means everything. It's mixed emotions. It's sad circumstances that she's here for the loss of their brother. But we're happy that we get this opportunity to spend time with family now. Definitely. It's unfortunate for other families due to COVID and everything, but we're so lucky to have family now that can attend special things like this.
Meanwhile, Japan's Osaka prefecture is planning to ask the government to declare a state of emergency.
Russia has expelled 20 Czech diplomats in a retaliation to a slew of diplomatic expulsions by Prague. Earlier, the Czech Republic accused 18 Russian diplomats of involvement in a 2014 ammunition depot blast. In a statement, the Russian Foreign Ministry said Prague's accusations were absurd, as it had previously blamed the blast on the depot's owner. The ministry gave the envoys just over 24 hours to leave the country. It said the Czech ambassador Václav Pivovk was summoned to the foreign ministry to be informed the Russian decision. The European Union foreign ministers will also discuss the Czech claims of Russian involvement in the blast today in a virtual meeting. EU foreign ministers are set to meet virtually today to discuss the deteriorating health of Kremlin critic Alexei Navalny. In a statement, the EU's foreign policy chief Joseph Borrell called on Moscow to grant Navalny immediate access to medical professionals. He said the EU considers Navalny's sentencing politically motivated and against international human rights obligations. Earlier, the United States warned Russia of consequences if Navalny dies in prison from a hunger strike. A group of doctors has warned that Navalny risks cardiac arrest any minute as his health deteriorates. Allies of the jailed Kremlin critic also announced a large street protest on Wednesday. ISIS has claimed responsibility for the attack on 2 wells at the Bay Hassan oil field in northern Iraq. In a statement, the Iraqi oil ministry said that the attack did not cause a fire or affect production. It also did not stop oil pumping from the well. Meanwhile, at least 5 rockets hit near a Iraqi airbase housing U.S. contractors north of Baghdad. Iraqi officials say there were no casualties reported after the incident. In Myanmar, anti-coup activists have again taken to the streets demanding an end to the military rule. Some protesters were detained in Mandalay as the forces continue efforts to disperse the demonstrators. Junta forces rammed bike-riding protesters with private cars. Meanwhile, police have imprisoned a Japanese journalist in Yangon. Tokyo says that it is seeking the quick release of Yuko Kizezumi. He was previously arrested in February for covering the protests but released soon after. Activists say security forces have killed more than 730 people and so far arrested more than 3,200. 5 people have been critically injured in a mass shooting at a liquor store in the U.S. state of Louisiana's Shreveport City. Authorities on the scene describe the injuries life-threatening. However, it is not clear who was responsible for the shooting. Police say they are looking for a white Ford car and have deployed 11 units on the scene. Earlier, at least 3 people were killed in a shooting in Austin, the state capital of Texas. In a tweet, police warned the scene is still active and people are being asked to avoid the area. In a separate shooting, 3 people were killed and 2 others wounded in Wisconsin's Kenosha County. At least 12 people have died in a tanker explosion following a road accident in Nigeria's central Benue state. The Emergency Management Agency said that the explosion has also destroyed 50 houses. It said the explosion occurred after the tanker veered off the road, spilling oil that caught fire following an explosion. The agency added the authorities are trying to control the fire. In Egypt, at least 11 people have died and 98 others injured after a passenger train derailed north of Cairo. The train was heading from Cairo to the Nile Delta city of Mansoura when 4 carriages derailed. In a statement, the health ministry said over 50 ambulances shifted the injured to the hospitals. It added that the cause of the accident is being investigated. Meanwhile, Pakistan has sent condolences to Egypt over the incident. In a tweet, Foreign Office spokesperson Zahid Hafiz Chaudhry wished a speedy recovery to those injured. As Italy prepares to reopen amid the pandemic, hundreds of entertainment and hospitality industry workers in Rome pleaded with the government for a lifeline. The workers beat black trunks as the form of protest at Piazza del Popolo. They demanded a fund from the government to help them survive. This follows weeks of clashes between small business owners and police after businesses remain closed due to lockdown. Current restrictions are set to expire at the start of May, and no decision has been taken on how to replace them. Japan has offered South Korean experts to be a part of the IAEA team overseeing the Fukushima water release. Earlier, Seoul expressed concern over Tokyo's plan to release more than 1.2 million tons of contaminated water into the Pacific Ocean. Japanese ambassador to Seoul, Koshi Abushi, termed South Korea's participation possible. Talking to reporters, Abushi said that the matter is to be discussed between the IAEA and the South Korean government. He said Tokyo will make various efforts to provide Seoul with information about the discharge. The envoy added Japan will work to ensure safety at the disposal process. The United Nations has called on the U.S. to commit to halving its greenhouse gas emissions by 2030. This comes ahead of 2-day virtual climate change summit from the 22nd of April to be hosted by the U.S. In an interview, UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said the move will encourage similar action from the world's other large emitters. He called the summit a make it or break it moment for climate action. The UN chief urged all major emitters to set targets for drastic emission reductions this decade. It's now time for a short break. Stay with us. Welcome back. Eruptions continue from the La Soufriere volcano on the Caribbean island of St. Vincent. The United Nations says the situation could spiral into a humanitarian crisis. An alliance of the Latin American countries has sent aid to the struggling St. Vincent and Grenadines government. Meanwhile, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent said he expects more donations. About 20,000 people have been evacuated from their homes since the eruptions began last week. In South Africa, a wildfire on the slopes of Table Mountain has forced a University of Cape Town students to evacuate. Flames set several campus buildings ablaze and firefighters used helicopters to waterbomb the area. Officials said one firefighter sustained burn wounds and was hospitalized for treatment. The university is largely built on the slopes of Devil's Peak and is situated close to where the fire started. Some roads were closed as heavy smoke could be seen from kilometers away. The fire started early on Sunday near a memorial on Devil's Peak before spreading rapidly up the slopes. The BOAO Forum for Asia's annual conference is being held in China's Hainan province. China's President Xi Jinping will deliver a keynote speech via video link on Tuesday at the opening plenary. More in this report.
China is signaling it is open for business with the resumption of its high-profile BOAO Forum for Asia. It is an opportunity for the government to make a renewed effort to lure foreign investors in a post-pandemic world. More than 2,600 delegates from over 60 countries are attending the 20th annual conference in Hainan.
The pandemic has further exposed and exacerbated the problems facing the world's economic development, judging from which the realization of the United Nations 2030 Sustainable Development Goals still faces enormous challenges. Now all countries have realized the importance of accelerating economic restructuring and green development.
This year's conference is themed A World in Change, joined hands to strengthen global governance and advance Belt and Road cooperation. It focuses on the forces resisting multilateralism and bent on unilateral actions for political gains.
Along with this pandemic, there is another worrying trend. That is, there are not only natural viruses but also political viruses. Some people are advocating ideological segregation and ganging up. This is anti-nature, anti-civilization, anti-science, and anti-humanity.
The four-day conference that started on Sunday ends on Wednesday.
China is in the lead as the world seeks to extract a largely untapped fuel source beneath the ocean floor. The extracted methane hydrate has been nicknamed flammable ice. More in this report. Buried deep in the ocean floors, the highly valuable ice crystals are scientifically named as methane hydrate. Researchers say there are enough reserves of these compounds to last for thousands of years, but it is extremely hard to extract them. China, however, made a huge breakthrough in 2017 by setting a world record for retrieving the highest amounts of this precious fossil fuel in a single attempt. Last year, it again stunned the world with a second successful attempt at harnessing the resource in the South China Sea.
Our platform was designed to operate in the North Sea, which has the roughest conditions in the world for offshore oil and gas production. So our specifications are among the best in the world. This enables us to continue operation in a typhoon, as long as the storm doesn't hit the platform head-on.
Experts say gas hydrates are cleaner than other fossil fuels like oil and coal. Production of methane from deep-sea deposits on a commercial scale could provide a vital transition energy source during the shift towards renewable energies. The cutting-edge technology required to access the ocean's depths will likely also benefit other parts of the marine economy.
So currently, China, coal provides 60% of their energy. These days, I think offshore drilling can provide much cheaper oil and natural gas and help China to gradually upgrade the structure of its energy and reduce the carbon emission.
Experts say China's efforts to develop its blue economy will help create a more sustainable future. The country aims to peak its emissions over the next decade and then rapidly decrease to reach carbon neutrality by 2060. Stocks in Europe are trading mixed after starting the week with a record-setting rally. Markets continue to cheer strong corporate earnings and economic data while banking on U.S. Federal Reserve support. London's FTSE, the Pan-European Stock 600 and the CAC 40 in Paris all gained marginally. Meanwhile, Frankfurt's DAX and Italy's FTSE MIB slipped fractionally. Earlier, most Asian bourses gained with the exception of Japan's Nikkei 225 and the Indian stocks. It's now time to take a look at the weather around the world. For the latest news updates, you can follow us on our social media at indus.news.